So I'm back at my local Walmart, the Walmart that's nearest my home. And I see that they do have one Simplicity catalog. And it has Walmart on it. So, and here are your cabinets that they have. So the first one is labeled costumes. Let's check that out. These are some of the patterns that's coming up in this drawer. And they are $8.97. Here are some costumes. Trying to pull out a pattern in this stack right here. Huh. There are also costumes. This is what the second drawer is looking like. Now these is so simple. McCall's, they have a price of $2.97 on here. So my attempt today was to come over here to look at and find some patterns for $2.97. Let's see. So you also have some prices of $7.96, but I don't see any patterns behind it. Here's one. The children. Then I see some $8.94. Oh, they're sweet. That's cute. And what else is in this drawer? I see a $5.96. Various prices. Here's a $6.94. And it goes back up to $7.96, $8.94. And here's some $7.97s. So I'm gonna check these patterns for the children clothes and see what I can come up with. We're in Target's. They're getting geared up for Halloween. Here are some of the decorations. It's different since I've been here. Look at the little pillows. They're nice. Find the price. Probably $5. Oh, it says try me. Oh wow. It lights up. Pick this one up. Pumpkins. I saw these. They're $5. They're small. And I was looking at these. They're clear and you can plainly see through them. And they're $5. That'd be good for some patterns. Let me get this. And it's 5. So this is my setup. Sewing for a charity, which is Project Dress a Girl, hosted by MariSews. Shout out to Mari. Great job every time. I'm showing you my tried and true Simplicity 2241. Is a learn to sew pattern, and it goes from K7 to 14. And I make this dress, I believe I've been sewing for, this will be my 3rd or 4th year sewing the dressing, and it is a learn to sew pattern. And if you want to participate with Mari and her drive for dresses for girls, you know, you can get a learn to sew pattern if you're new to sewing. So I sew these every year, and I trace them out from my pattern because I use this pattern every year that I participate. The different sizes so you can see, and I place them in these envelopes. Then I go to my stash and see what I have to create a wonderful dress for somebody who would care and would love to have that dress. Like I said, it's a simple, easy projects. And the pattern shows you step-by-step guides of what to do and how to do it. For example, this is how to apply trim to a yoke, how to sew your dress for the views that they're view options that they are giving you. Wonderful way to learn to sew tracing, learn sewing tips, and the patterns even can be made in contrasting details. This is a view of the patterns, and it shows you what you'll learn to do and what you'll need, your supplies that you would need, and that's the back of the envelope. So I'm getting into gear for that. So this is my setup for Project Dress the Girl 2025. I always use the same pattern, and that's a Simplicity 2241. Learn as you sew, so it's an easy pattern to follow. As you can see, here is a part of my layout. I'm sewing 3 dresses this year. I have 3 different setups going on. This little dress here, I've been sewing since last year. I'm in a dilemma. 1 minute, it looks thick enough. Then the next minute, it looks too thin. So that's why I didn't complete it last year. By the way, it is Simplicity 2241. This year when I pulled it out or started sewing again for the girls' dresses, I was in the same spot that I was in last year. So I decided this year just to add a half slip to it. Mind you, this is all sewn up. The only thing left for this dress is to sew the seam binding on the arms and hem the bottom. But what I'm going to do is sew a half slip, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. To complete a lining for a dress, you cut out basically the body of the dress. So this is one front and back of that dress. This particular dress has a bodice piece that fits up top. So I'm in luck. I cut out my pattern pieces to make the half slip. The bottoms will not be lined. These are small age children, girls, and the bottom part will. So that will complete my dilemma. I have cut it out and ready to go to complete the half slip. Let's see how that goes. So this is the front piece, number one, and it goes here. So I can place the lining piece here, gather it, and catch it underneath the seam binding of the armhole. Let's do that. So this is what I have created or put together to solve the problem of the sheer or thin fabric situation with this dress. What I did was cut out the bottom portion of the dress following the patterns. This dress, remind you that it has a top bodice and a bottom portion that connects at this line here. So I cut out the two front and back pieces of the pattern in a lining fabric and sewed them up on each side, which I'm gonna serge each edge over here, and I attached them to the upper bodice. This dress was already completed except for the finishes on the armholes and the hem. But like I said before, I had a dilemma of, was it too thin, too sheer? Can you see through it? Not. Backwards and forth. So I decided that it was, and I added this, what I call a half slip. And this is how it's looking. It's the bottom portion of the dress. As you can see here. And it tapers off around the armhole. So I just mimic some seam binding here. And this is how the finished edge of the seam binding is going to look under the armhole, catching the lining and the dress as if it was sewn together at the same time. This is how the seam binding will look on the right side of the dress. This is you're looking at the armhole of the dress on the right side. So let's flip it. Here's the dress, the completed dress. And when it's finished, the armholes will have the seam binding going up here and around the armhole on both sides. And what's left next is to hem. This is how the lining is looking from the inside. This is a look at the lining from the inside of your dress. This is the outer layer. This is how it's looking from the inside. So, the dilemma has been solved. The dress is no longer see-through and it can function as a regular garment with no see-through problems added. They're eliminated.